time to watch all the moves, they're not hard to find. Strong arm tactics so loud, only themselves in mind. Every player has dreams of making ORCA fame. They'll live on in the minds of those who get in their way. ORCAs all say, don't come for me. Mid-third boots, they're so vain. As we set up the podcast webcam, the pod is here to talk ORCA game. ORCA King CK with delusions of fame. In this LRG world, he's the apex predator. Danny and Jules in tow, always ready to go. Now it's time for the show, they're the apex predators.
Hello and welcome to the ORCA Pod, the apex predators of Australian Survivor LRG podcasting. Here we are. Sorry for that false start. Every time I'm ready to go from this podcast, the amount of awesomeness that is about to explode out of our coverage just kills the internet. It's happened for like 2 weeks in a row. Everyone in the world is clambering to watch our podcast. It's like a DDoS attack on the StreamYard platform that causes internet failure. But we are here ready to go for the second episode post-merge. We have a huge cast of ORCAs coming to you this evening. The pod is swimming together once more to talk about this post-merge action in Sydney Survivor. The whole crew is back. So first, let me welcome to the stage, drum roll please, Loz is back. It's actually her cat. The cat's going to have incredible takes, I'm sure.
Hi. I'm back in Australia.
And the cat back in the Sydney Survivor, and your cats have missed both greatly.
Yes, clearly. Yes. Rebecca's not handling being separated from me. So no, Becky, not the phone tonight. So she'll probably be present for she'd be an ORCA in her season. So she's gonna assist.
Perhaps she's incredibly displeased with your decision to leave the country, and we'll put a random vote in the urn for you. Now let's bring in the next ORCA joining us once again. The new Tea Party host extraordinaire, Josh is here. Welcome, Josh.
Hello. It's good to be back and great to see Loz back.
Joshy.
Hi, Con.
And finally, last but not least, the Bounty Hunter is back with us as well. A full assortment of ORCAs. Welcome, Mark. You're looking a bit more friendly this evening with your cute fish jumper as opposed to the Sith Lord you brought to us last occasion. Oh, we can't hear Mark. That's like just a sad outcome. Let me just check this. What about now, Mark? Speak to me. Speak to us, Mark. Oh no. We cannot hear Mark's beautiful dulcet tones. We'll let him see what he can figure out. Covering up Josh. He'll be loving that.
I'm
okay.
good. Hello.
Hey, excellent. We're all here. But before we, of course, get into all the fun facts of this episode, we need to, there's lots of ORCAs. We need to check into what happened in this episode of Sydney Survivor 1 season ago.
Oh.
So 1 season ago in episode 9 of Sydney Survivor, it was a double boot. They were really getting it going. I wonder if this episode should have been a double boot. But it was a double boot, and it was a very boring result where Shane was eliminated. Shane was eliminated basically unanimously. No, it wasn't fully because he had a double vote that he wasted. And then Maddie P was basically unanimously eliminated. So boring episode as they ran to quite an interesting final 5 in Sydney season 1. But this episode, Danny's telling us we're going to double it next episode. This episode, I think, will probably trump it. It was not without controversy. But Loz, who can't hear Josh and Mark, but we've done that before. We can make this work. Loz, you had some commentary about the merge buff that I didn't think about, or Josh didn't think about last week. What's your commentary? I'm wearing it now.
So I actually think it's probably the nicest buff I've seen in an LRG. However, it's purple, and the introvert tribe was purple. Why is our merge tribe purple?
Yeah. True.
Do you think perhaps they had a time machine and they knew that somehow 7 members of the introvert tribe would make merge and therefore they got to retain their color scheme?
No, I don't think that had anything to do with it. I'd love to know the answer of why we've got a purple tribe and a purple merge buff.
Max disappointed. I imagine he had a third flannel shirt to break out.
Yeah, I'm confused. I'm not saying it's not a beautiful buff because I think it is a beautiful buff. I think it's the nicest buff we've seen in an LRG. I think the design, the colors, it's amazing, but it makes no sense.
I think that what's his name? Eli is just trying to like break every established convention. Like the host now names the episodes. The host now chooses the color. He's just keeping us on our toes at this point.
It's they also named the merge tribe. I believe Eli named. Well, actually,
pre-named it.
It was named by a as a fundraiser. What do we think about that? It was someone who donated to the season was given the choice to name the merge. I think it might have been the highest donator got it, and in fact, I think from memory, I was very close to being the highest donator. I think I was second, and this person beat me to it. I could have done it. We could have called it the ORCA tribe. How amazing would that have been?
Ooh.
That would have been very upsetting for all the introverts.
It'd be an oxymoron given the merge tribe is all introverts.
Well, some of them are bringing out their ORCA behavior, as we're going to talk about.
Great. We're teasing it out of them.
Yeah, they're teasing it out. I think the headline of tonight is Tim will not be joining us. Tim is, he doesn't have a problem with our podcast. I don't believe he's been watching our podcast because I don't believe he's been watching the season because he was so aggravated by this outcome and remains incredibly, I understand, disappointed, angry. You pick your word about what happened to him in this episode. Let's go around the grounds. Let's start with you, Josh. What did you think about the phantom votes on Tim and Tyrone?
Well, if they were breaking the rules that were explicitly stated, then yeah, there should be penalties involved, possibly. It does annoy me, in games I've played before when they're like, oh, pause the game when you're in between a challenge or something, and then people are talking and you're doing the right thing, and then people get away with it. So I do see it from production's perspective. I get it from his perspective as well. You are going to be upset if you go out of the game potentially because of this, rule break thing. But Tyrone also got an extra vote against him, and it went to a tie between both of them, and they both received the penalty, right? So really, he wasn't disadvantaged any more than Tyrone was. It just came down to who the tribe liked more. It was a tie, and then on the revote, he went home. So I don't think he can really be that mad because they both were affected the same, and unfortunately, people just trusted him less.
What do you think, Mark? Do you share the same view?
Firstly, I want justice for Mac. I wanted to make very clear when he was voted the most juror potential. Tim, come on. So justice for Mac in that regard. I kind of agree with Josh's sentiment. And the fact that it was a double idol play, I feel kind of has to lessen the blow a little bit because you're going to do in that situation. it was going to be down to two introverts anyway. And like, I know it can be really frustrating and disappointing to have your game affected by like a rule or an externality. But being real, Tim was probably one of the two names on the chopping block if two idols came out this round anyway. So I could understand his frustration, and I do understand his frustration, but I feel like it was a bigger snowball than what that one penalty has created.
Yeah.
And Loz, who can hear Mark but not Josh, are you in furious agreement with this? Are we all in support? I haven't given my view yet. How do you feel about these rule break votes?
Well, I didn't understand what had happened. And I still don't understand what had happened. So I know that they got penalised and therefore a vote for each of them got put into the mix.
Yeah.
Yep. But I didn't understand why, because I couldn't work out what had happened to cause it.
Okay, so it's clearly not clear on the edit. It's not clear.
All right. I thought I'd missed something, so I wasn't sure. As far as it goes, it's a kind of a fine line, because where do you draw it to say, okay, you're now being penalised? There's so many moments in the game where, as a player, you don't do exactly what you're told. You're told to stop talking and go to tribal council. You're told to stop talking on the way to the challenge, and you keep doing it. So why penalise at this point? And clearly it set the outcome. Although I have a bigger problem with how much strat chat was allowed at tribal. It would have been a far more telling result if they had done the challenge, gone to tribal and voted. Make them vote blind.
So we're jumping ahead because I do want to talk about all the challenge and everything like that. Apparently Tim might be available, but the key point on this was, I've been told by production that they were talking quite a lot between challenges, between when you're lining up for tribal council, when you're supposed to be quiet, when you're told to be quiet. I'm pretty sure in every LRG, people continue to have conversations at that time of the game. Look, everyone is running that fine line about wanting to continue to have strategic conversations in the very limited amount of time you have, while at the same time trying to follow the rules. You know, obviously what's often told to people is that if those conversations are not on camera, they're not making the edit, that means the story can't be told well. That means your story, if that's critical to your outcome or your success, cannot be told. So it's certainly in the interests of yourself to not have these conversations. But we've been told, Eli is not the biggest fan of this outcome. He's talking about this in the chat, but that what they were warned many times. Now Tyrone's coming in for his defense. Let's bring that up. Tim and I were next to each other and the prod team was setting up all the cameras. I said to Tim, not whispered, I'm so impressed at how professional this all is. He and I had not spoken to each other about strat at all. So I guess, and this is what Eli has said to me. I'll take that one off. Eli has said to me that is what happened. But obviously production, not Eli, who's trying to host the show, the people running the game, felt that Tim or maybe it was the whole cast, and that was the one conversation that broke the camel's back. That was the one conversation that broke the camel's back and caused them to react and finally implement a punishment that would then perhaps cause the rest of the cast to listen more wholeheartedly to the rules. Eli keeps saying he doesn't think this affect the outcome, and of course he's spoken to the cast, and I have not, in terms of who continues on the game from here. But to me, it feels like with Max Idol coming out, everyone got scared and they split on Oscar and Tyrone because they had these votes. To me, that's why they were the split choice.
Yeah, like it's really hard because sorry, I feel like I had like a more eloquent way of saying this. Like an extra vote, especially a public extra vote in Survivor, is a death knell. So I think Tyrone low-key gets like legend status for surviving a vote with a public thing against him from production. But I think like Loz is right. Like, where do you draw the line? Like, there are going to be warnings going around all day, and like I do believe in a fair game. So at some point there has to be a penalty. But I do think that an extra vote right before a crazy tribal like that is super punishing. Like if they production wanted to make the statement, I think like maybe setting someone behind in a challenge or something like that is like enough to be like, we mean business. There are rules in play. You will be penalized for it. But an extra vote was very brutal.
I think that this tribal council, I think we're all on board that production is fair to implement rules and particularly punishments if people are not playing by those rules. But this tribal council was particularly damaging, with it being one where people were not able to strategize in any real sense. What do you think about that, Loz?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a difficult one because I look at my season, and had I had more strat time, I think I could have survived my vote out. It was the shortest amount of strat time we'd had the whole game. I didn't have the time I needed to plead my case, and I felt like that was game ending for me. So for other people to kind of keep pushing the rules and strat chatting when they've been told not to, it affects the game negatively, whether it ends in a vote or not. So I see the production point, but we've talked a lot about, production kind of trying to let the game play out organically. And this was a huge point in the game where production stepped in and made a decision that I do think had a substantial impact on the game. I don't think Tim and Tyrone would have gotten all those votes. Tim might have gotten the votes. He might still have gotten them, but I think Oscar probably would have gotten votes. I think they still would have chucked some votes on Mac to try and flush out the idol. And I think there were still people in that group who would potentially have voted for Shane. So I do think it kind of created a bit of a vacuum where people felt they had no choice but to vote one of two ways. And that wouldn't have been the case without those phantom votes. And so I can see it from both sides.
I also think Tim is like entitled to feel a little bit cheated because like ultimately he socially didn't get that extra spotlight on him that the vote put on him. So we can definitely empathize and understand for like having something taken away. But
can we just put up this comment? So Eli's putting the counterpoint to what Loz has said. The vote is not going on Mac or Shane. This because Mac pulled out the idol and no one wanted to go Shane. It wouldn't go on Oscar as no one wanted to vote him out. And Mac had deals that he believed doesn't go on Bet Chris. Tilly's immune, etc. I wasn't there. But the fact is, it doesn't make sense that Mac doesn't cop more votes here. I really think like that it should have been Tim and Mac or Tyrone and Mac if that's what they're going here. Like, I don't think Mac should have played his idol. We'll talk about that once we get through this whole vote penalty situation. But the fact for them to play his idol here was, look, obviously it's a risky play not to do it. But they should have been, in case he didn't play it up, Mac should have had a majority of votes, and then Tim should have been the second. Or so that if Mac doesn't play the idol, he goes.
Yes.
Now, look, things have changed. I guess, we've been putting our discussion into the universe. It's popped up in a very real sense. And we've drawn him into the conversation. Tim was not going to come, but somehow he's found his way into the backstage. He's been hearing our debate. He's been hearing our furious support for perhaps the robbery that occurred. And he decided that he wanted to appear. So,
I'm impressed
that he's arrived. I need to just get I wasn't planning for this.
Yeah, he's got more balls than Aaron from Melbourne Survivor
Oh,
Uncharted
dude,
Waters.
don't stop aggravating Aaron, mate. You're gonna kill me here. Just give me a second. I had not planned for this. I just need to sort out my settings. That's not working. Oh my god. Can someone kill some time? Talk about something while I fix this up.
I
I can't hear Josh, so
Well, I thought Oscar had a slay line this episode. He was bitching about Mac, and he was like, "Yeah, Mac can dig his own grave and go lay in it." I was like, "Oh, that should have been an episode title. I reckon that was good. Go, Oscar."
Oh, you can't hear him, Loz, but he's stealing your segment.
Oh,
No,
I didn't. Sorry.
That's all
the
good.
only thing I have, Josh. You're taking away the only thing I have.
Josh is one of those entitled gays who puts himself above women. It's really homophobic and sexist of him. I thought Joe had a very strong episode. I kind of enjoyed like where she put her hand and things. So
All right, I'm ready now. Sorry, we'll get back to the rest of the episode, but let's throw up the. Well, we have to thank Isabel for queuing this up because she went and got Tim in. She wants she's at the ORCA she sent me a text annoyed that she didn't get the credit. So the credit goes to Isabel. Hit the drumbos. Go again. Yeah, here he is, the man, the myth, the legend. Tim is here. Give him a big round of applause. Tim, how are you feeling about you were annoyed in the real time, now you've watched it back. How do you feel about how this all went down?
Not the best, obviously. I haven't watched all of it back. I was there, so I didn't really need to rewatch it all. But yeah, obviously disappointing to go out in what I felt was a pretty unjust way. But yeah, what do you do, right?
We've been talking through the time. So, set out your story of events. Because you said in your final words you still weren't sure what you'd been punished for. What do you understand that to be? Have you found out since you played the game?
I think it was like I understood it, but I didn't understand it because it wasn't what I felt a rule break, if that makes sense. Like Byron came up and said, you guys are talking when you're not allowed to, and that's it. I know there'd been a few other warnings throughout the day, so this was kind of like the last straw. But I think in that situation, we explained our side of the story. I don't even remember the exact conversation, but I know that me and Tyrone were sitting next to each other because it was like the alphabetical order of the egg smashing. And he told me a comment about a camera. I think it was a camera. That's what I remember. And yeah,
Tyrone said here live, he just said, I can't believe how amazing this is. Like the production's so great. Something of that nature.
It was something to do with the camera. And my response was actually maybe be quiet because we're going to get in trouble. That was my comment because I knew that they were on us. Byron was like watching us a little bit. And yeah, like I just told him to like be quiet. And then Byron came over and said, you guys are breaking the rules. And I literally just told him to stop talking. So that's why I was upset because I didn't even say anything.
And Tyrone's backing you up here. He's saying you didn't say anything. It was all him. And he's backing it up. So, like, it sounds like it was a confluence of circumstances where that people have been doing it all day. And it's not just your cast. Like every cast that we've all ever been a part of has these conversations, some of them meaningless, some of them perhaps a bit meaningful during these moments because you're trying to inch out of every moment you get to talk in the game. And it's probably happening throughout this entire game. Production are getting frustrated. And then you and Tyrone, and perhaps you the most, have copped it the worst because you were actually doing the right thing. Even though Tyrone wasn't saying anything that was game related, you were doing the right thing and telling him to shush. And you got the worst punishment for telling him to shush.
Yeah. And I think the the like times before that I saw anyway, it was never anything major like people talking to break the rules. It was more people like I remember there was one situation where someone was carrying the flag back and they'd slipped and dropped it and someone went to help them and they got told off for that. So it was just like silly things like that. Where, you know, it's not game related and it's very obvious that it's not game related and they were getting told off and warned for that. I think someone got told they were actually going to get a vote the next time they went to tribal, but they explained the situation and then that vote was removed.
Okay.
I think that's common sense. That common sense was applied. Unfortunately, in this situation, it wasn't. That's my belief, anyway.
Oh, that's something incredibly frustrating. Now, like, do you believe and you obviously there's information that you know post this vote, and we don't want to step into the grounds of any spoilers about that, noting you're on the jury. But it seemed to me and to us on the conversation that part of the reason, like, you might not have been in a great spot or whatever, but part of the reason that you attracted votes and Tyrone attracted votes was because you had these false votes. Do you think that's, without talking about what would have happened or does happen in the future, because we don't want to go there, do you think that's a possibility?
I mean, 2 people got extra votes and those 2 people were the only ones voted for. So, I mean, I would say possibly yes. I don't think me and Tyrone were in the strongest position at that point of the game and were probably kind of like a name that was being floated. But I think it also, because the vote went straight from the challenge, we didn't even get time to really go back to camp and discuss it. So because we had time, it was kind of like, well, you know, these people have votes. Would it not be smart to use what numbers we have and just throw them on Tyrone and I? So, I mean, did it impact the vote? Yes. Would it have changed the outcome? Maybe not, but we're not going to know that because that's what happened.
We were talking about this a bit before we came on. I think that if they were going to go this way, given the circumstances of this vote with no strat chat, they should have perhaps said that at the next vote, you and Tyrone would receive a vote, just so you'd have the opportunity to work around it. I don't think it's ideal. Mark suggested earlier that a better punishment should have been about, you know, a disadvantage in a challenge or something.
That's what I had said. That's what I had said post elimination. I said to, I don't even remember who it was. Maybe Marcus was there. It was Marcus, Leah, me, and Isabel at where we waited to go as the jury. And I said it was like, if anything, maybe give us a disadvantage in the next challenge, not a vote. Because a vote is such it's the most important thing, right? So to put that against us, I think it ruined my experience personally.
Even a lost vote would be better. Not that that's probably going too far as well, but the actual vote against Shanaim is pretty significant. So you said that it ruined your experience, and we postulated that at the start of this episode, that, you know, we understood you weren't too keen to come on because you haven't been watching, because it was such, I guess, a negative experience for you having to go out this way.
Yeah, like looking back, well, going back to the very, very start, like I had a few friends that played season 1 and I was really happy for them. And like, I know they loved their experience so much. They were very close post their experience. And that's what I really wanted, to be part of a really good experience with a group of people that have a similar interest to me, being Survivor. And that's why I applied. And then, you know, coming from Melbourne, it's not just like coming up the road. I, you know, flew to Sydney, got a train 2 hours to the Blue Mountains, stayed in a hotel overnight. Like, I put a lot of time and effort into it. And for that then to be, I don't want to say ruined, but that to be impacted in such a negative way, it really did upset me.
Josh?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm being controversial to ask, but why, like, Eli's here in the comments saying he agrees, he's agreeing with Tyrone, he's agreeing with Tim and all this stuff. Why is it that there's these faceless people, Byron, I don't know, I don't think I've met him, I don't know who that is, these people that have made this decision that has really negatively impacted Tim, the whole game potentially? Why are they the ones, the decision makers, not Eli? Because Eli's the face of Sydney Survivor. Like if this was in backyard, Brian and Kyle would be the ones to make the decision and own it and back it. Why is it not Eli in this situation?
Yeah, well, like back when it happened, Byron had like made that decision, and then Eli came over and questioned it. And Eli was actually like, we explained it to both of them, and Eli's like, I don't think this is really that big a deal. Like, let's kind of like, just ignore it and just move on. But Byron was the one that was like, no, 100%, doesn't matter what Eli says, this is what's going to happen. And Tyrone was arguing with them for quite a while, and I was really not feeling well for like the whole 2 days I was there. I was really unwell, so I was just kind of like, whatever's going to happen happens, doesn't really matter at this point. I think they've made their decision, but Tyrone was fighting it quite a lot.
Yeah,
but Byron wasn't budging. So
to be clear about Byron was the effective co-creator of season 1 with Eli. He's not on camera, but I believe ran most of the game and did a lot of the editing with Eli. So he was as much as part of Sydney Survivor as Eli was as the face. But as Eli said here in the comments, he didn't particularly feel good about this outcome, as a result, that production crew that was involved in season 2 isn't the same production crew that went through to create season 3. So obviously, in the real time, Eli isn't running a dictatorship. He's running a democracy, and sometimes democracy doesn't work.
Yeah, there's a comment there I can see from Tyrone, and it was pretty like demeaning, like the way he was speaking to us. And I don't want to bash him when he's not here to speak about it, but I felt it was pretty bad. And can I say something very controversial here?
As long as it's not a spoiler,
this might be my ORCA moment. If you want to,
as long as it's not a spoiler, you can say what you want. No spoilers.
No spoilers. But I feel like this might upset a few people, but I'm just going to say it because I feel like this is my opinion, and I want to be honest. Is that if there were certain other people who had been in that situation that Tyrone and I were in, I don't think they would have copped it. One being like, I mean, if Oscar was in that situation, I don't think Byron was going to give his brother a vote. I'm just I'll be honest. Ooh. I don't think he would have.
Wait, you cut out for a sec. Whose brothers?
So Oscar is Byron's brother, and I'm just saying, if Oscar was there in that moment, I don't think Byron would have gone up to him and be like, hey, mate, just like keep it down a little bit. That's my opinion. And that's why I'm very upset about it, because I don't think everyone was treated fairly. So
that gives more context to it. Obviously, we don't know what's going through Byron's head or whatever, but that, definitely could be a conflict of interest.
I think there was massive conflict of interest for most of the game, I'll be honest.
And we were talking about it before you came on. We do think that perhaps this is. I think we're all on board that the rules need to be followed, but this sounds like a scenario that with the proper time to talk about it, to consider it, to be heard, that they should not have at all given you a vote for that conversation. If you had heard talking strategy, that might be a different story. But if everyone knows that this is a conversation that was completely non-game related, warning should continue, and the two of you shouldn't have been singled out for that consequence. And I can hear it from you now. It's still painful, and I hear about what you're saying about the experience. Do you feel that you didn't get to have that community connection that all of us in these 4 windows here certainly have got from our season? It's not a unique thing. It generally happens for most people. Some here and there, maybe not, but it generally does happen. Did you not get to have that? Did you feel that you were perhaps tarnished by the way you went out of the game?
I don't think I was tarnished because I don't think anyone in the game really took it like, oh, they were cheating. So I don't think it was tarnished. And I did make some really great friends from the experience as well. So me and Isabella were quite close in the game. Obviously, didn't work out strategically, but yeah, we went to Sydney together post that game. Yeah, like we went and watched the footy game after that together, and that was really nice. And me and Beck have remained really good friends as well. We speak most days. So I have a really good few friendships out of it. But yeah, I mean no one I don't think anyone thought we were cheating, so it wasn't tarnished at all.
I don't think CK meant like your reputation or anything. It was more like your relationship with the community and your relationship with the overall experience. So like I think we're just trying to say we hope that this hasn't ruined it for you, despite the fact that it's obviously a disappointing ending.
I wouldn't say it was ruined. I mean, slightly the experience in itself was, but yeah, I don't know. It's just something that it didn't go how I was hoping, but that's okay.
Isabel will cherish your friendship forever. That's despite you not giving her those eggs you promised in the prior episode. She was very upset about this. Do you justify your decision to not give her those eggs?
Yeah, that wasn't mine and Isabella's relationship. To me, it was never strategic. Like we were never like strategically going to work together just because of how the numbers were and how she came over. And no one loved Bella, but no one really wanted to work with her. So for me to go out of my way to jump in that situation was never going to work. But like we got along really well. So I always wanted to be her friend. It just never worked out in the game. So yeah, when she asked me to give her eggs, I was like, I guess, yeah. But then I saw everyone else pooling, and I was like, not going to be the only introvert to not do that.
It was the right strategic move. We talked about that last week. She was bitter about it in the confessional, where like it made no sense for you to flip on the introverts to give her the eggs. You might flip on the introverts in a vote where you can make a big move, but the eggs is exposing yourself for no reason.
Yeah, I wasn't going to do that, and I tried to play with as much logic as I could. So to me, that wasn't logical to do that. And yeah, I mean, that wasn't going to help her win, and it was only going to negatively affect my game. So I was not going to do that.
Some positive stuff coming out. Just want to say that these comments. Isabel says, "I'll cherish your friendship forever." Tyrone says, "I'm really glad you came on to tell your story." Tim, Eli says, "I'm sorry you felt this way, Tim. If I knew it still affected you, I would have reached out a hand." You might get some more DMs now after this. Sorry. Were you saying something, Josh or Mark?
So were you surprised, like for the bits that you watched back / the conversations you had after the game, were you surprised that pre-merge you were kind of sticking out as the introvert internal target, or did you kind of get a sense of that on the ground?
I think I had a little sense of it. I didn't think they would vote me out. Like when I was there, I didn't think I would be the main target just because when we swapped, I wasn't really with anyone that I'd voted with previously. I know Chris voted with us, but allegedly by mistake. So that relationship wasn't as what I thought it was, and I didn't vote with the others. So I knew that they were kind of like not with me, but I thought that maybe we were closer than what we were, because in my head, and we discussed it as soon as, we went back to camp, we said, we've got 5, they've got 2. It would make no sense to vote one of us out. Like we had the numbers to split the vote and have an extra vote. So we could have like done a 2 to 3 and they would have only had 2. So we had that conversation and I was like, well, it would make no sense for us to flip at this stage. But I didn't know that they thought I was not with, like I was going to flip. Like that was never my plan. So I don't know what made them think that.
You said that you're playing a logical game. Did you feel like any of the introverts were not playing a logical game?
I mean, I don't know what they were doing or thinking. To me, it would have been illogical to vote me out because we had the numbers, such strong numbers, and I know that they might have thought I was going to flip. So in their head, it made sense. But from my perspective, I never was going to. So I can't control what they're thinking. But I mean, I would like back then, I thought Oscar was like not really knowing what to do. But from like what I've seen, I think like he was almost the straightest shooter there was. Like he was like, you know, it's us against the extroverts, which is kind of what I was thinking as well.
I was just trying to bait you into being a bitch, but you didn't take it. So good job there.
I have a question. So you like when I first watched the cast, like first episodes and stuff, I think I said the people that stood out to me as looking like the biggest threats or the most good at Survivor was like you, Tilly, Maddie, and Mac. And then going into the game, you seem to get painted as like untrustworthy and stuff like that. Like, do you think people just saw you at like other people saw that potential like gameplay side of you that I saw as a viewer? Or like, why do you think you got painted with that untrustworthy brush that seemed to sort of follow you throughout the game?
I think the theme almost worked against me because in a normal season, I can hide behind louder people, but there was no loud people in my tribe. So it's the, I don't want to say smarter, but like it's the people that are more vocally strategic that were going to be looked at as the target. So I think if I had people like Bella and Mac and Nat on my tribe to start with, I don't think I would have ever been looked at as a strategic threat because they were going to be targeted. So being on a tribe of introverts where everyone's quite quiet, I think it kind of worked against me because, you know, I was talking about the game and strategy and stuff, and they might have thought I'm a threat. So I think that.
Can I ask on that though? Was Tilly not talking about strategy and the game? Because to me, Tilly has always struck me as the person that took the most charge strategically and building alliances. And I think that played through in the touchy subjects challenge with Chris as well as the ones that no one was willing to smash the eggs for. Generally in touchy subjects, the ones that last are the ones generally in power because people don't want to upset the apple cart.
True.
I don't know. I don't think so because my perspective was that Tilly was obviously really good socially, but like the deepest strategy, I don't think she really knew a lot. She knew the basics, but then when it came to vote, like that first vote, me and her, I thought we were on the same page, and I thought she was actually voting Joe because that was my last conversation with her. So that first one, I thought we had a 5 on Joe, and I think that's why Chris got confused because our last conversation when I was with Chris and Tilly was that we were all voting for Joe. So I think Tilly was a little bit confused in a few votes. Even the last vote, I don't know if she thought we had to vote for Mac to flush his idol or not because she said we had to flush the idol, but we don't have to vote for him to flush the idol. So I think she actually thought we had to vote for him, and I think that's what stuffed me up. I think she would have voted for Tyrone if she didn't know that.
Yeah.
I had that in my notes that she was being so vocal at tribal, which I appreciated, as you know, I love that ORCA energy, but she kept saying, no, we need to flush it. We need to put votes on him. And I'm like, but you can just bluff him into playing. Like I literally had that written down. I think she didn't understand it.
I don't think she understood. So a lot of the strategy, the actual strategy, I don't think she was really like one of the main contenders. I think it was myself, Beck, Tyrone, and Chris. I think us four were probably the more strategic players on the tribe. That's my perspective, but I didn't really know what was going on, so I don't know.
Well, I think it's also interesting that Tilly and Chris, who seem to be the tightest duo, also voted differently on the revote. So it's kind of like how much strategy versus personality is just going on in that dynamic.
Yeah, I don't know. I think...
Well, we're asking questions that are a bit tricky because they will sort of be impacted by how the game will play out and what he knows. So it's hard for him to answer those questions, but I think we will talk.
Yeah, everything I'm saying is kind of like
you're doing a great
spoilers.
Job. You are doing a great
zero
job.
Spoilers. Everything I'm saying is my perspective as I'm as of now, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
No, you're absolutely doing a great job on that. I'm just flagging that, it's a bit hard to say why Chris and Tilly vote one way or the other. We can guess here because we don't know what happens. But I think, look, I'm so glad you jumped on and were here to give a voice to your story. No one in LRG history over 15 seasons in Australia has been voted out in this consequence. You have a unique story and a unique, probably emotional reaction and feeling to your circumstances that I think is a really valid viewpoint. And I'm glad you were able to come on here and share it. And if you're still looking, shameless plug, if you're still looking for that community, we have live Orca drinks in Melbourne on the 1st of August, drinks on CK, live Orca show, live Melbourne reunion. Come there and hang out with us and other Melbourne people that I'm sure you're friends with, and you can still have the community that you're hoping to find.
Thank you for the invite.
You're very welcome. You're part of the community, so you're welcome. Anyone who's part of the community is welcome, and you're a player. You play. You're a part of the community. We hope to see you there, and we can talk about this further off air if you still wish to. But I really value you coming on. It's so great for you to come on and talk your truth to your perspective.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. I want to get now a bit. It was great that you came on. It was excellent. And thank you, Isabel, once again. I want to get now a bit back into what we're talking about here with the game. I want to. We've spent a lot of time on this episode and this Tim experience, which I think we absolutely should because it's such a critical vote in this season and in the history of LRGs. But let's run through a couple of things. Josh, do you think Mac was foolish to play his idol, or was it the right move?
I think if I were him, I would have played it. It was just too much chaos and everything. It just sucks that he literally only got that one stray Tilly vote. But yeah, if I were him, I would have played it as well. It's too scary.
Loz, you tell me, did Shane make a mistake in wasting his idol, but not pre-displaying the idol to perhaps save himself its use?
Yeah, and this is where it gets tricky and this is the problem with too many idols and advantages. And my God, do we have a lot of idols and advantages going on. I'm struggling to keep up. And when Shane was sitting there listing out all of these things he had, I couldn't even remember him finding them. And I paid a lot of attention.
Half of them
They're
aren't.
not. They're not. But I think it decreases the value and the power of each of those individual idols or advantages when there are so many. And I think he's become a little complacent with them, where he's gone, well, I've got this one and this one and this one in my, my arsenal. So like, it'll be fine. I'll just throw this one out or this one out. And I don't think he's necessarily making the best strategic decisions with the advantages and idols that he's got because he's so confident that he's got them. I mean, for Mac, I would have played the idol as well. Absolutely, no question. I just cannot believe that none of the others voted for him, truly. So it blows my mind that he played his idol and it was wasted. Because why you wouldn't vote for him? And even if he plays it, well, who cares? He flushed it. I don't know if Tilly did or didn't understand that you did not need to vote to flush it out. But either way, if you want him gone and he's got an idol, vote him out, vote for him and see how it plays out. So that Mac, yes. Shane, I can't work out whether he actually thinks he's got Beck on his side and other people who are feeding him the right information or not, because last vote he wasn't even remotely concerned. He pulls the tiki thing out and goes, oh, well, no big deal. And then this vote, where again, I would have thought he was quite confident the votes weren't coming his way. He goes the opposite direction and gets all paranoid about it. It's just starting to come across as like less. I thought Shane was playing a really, really, really tidy game up until probably the last episode and a half. And it seems to be getting, maybe it's paranoia, maybe it's being tired, but his strategy seems to be getting a little shaky.
Mark, tell me what you would do if you and Josh are in the minority. You both have hidden idols. What's the best way to play this thing? Is it what they did, or is it something else?
I'm showing mine. You got to show yours. We both tell them we both have an idol, so you have to put 4 on 4 anyway. You can go fast, and then you know what I mean. Like if you try and flush our idols, then one of you is just taking the shot because we are both playing them. And I think that the only way, and because you had the phantom votes as well, because there was the phantom votes in play. If Shane joins Mac with the idol on display, they have to cannibalize each other, and there is no other option. So I really, if the fact that Shane was actually willing to play it, if Shane was going to conserve it, I'm supportive of him not showing it and holding on to it for another day. But the fact that he made the decision to play that idol, if you're going to make it public knowledge, make it public, put the spotlight on them. But because Shane didn't do that, I actually kind of see why Mac had to play his. Like, I have no issues with Mac playing it. My issue is not
it was that strat chat at the tribal that threw it for me, because had they just had the challenge and then gone straight into a vote without all of because that was basically the same as going back to camp and having 15, 20 minutes of strat chat, because that's what they did at tribal. And I think he would have done so. I think both he and Mac would have played it slightly differently. Maybe just before the vote, they sit down, Eli does his little thing. Anything anyone want to say, they both pull their idols out and go, well, by the way, we both have one. We're both going to play him. And that's just how it's going to be. But that strat chat period that wasn't a strat chat period, that was like a live tribal, really threw it into chaos. And I think it was just a panicked last second move on Shane's part that ended up being, a total waste and just disappointing, because it could have had so much more power.
Yeah, it's a great point, Loz, and I think we went into this a little bit early without going into the detail. Let's explore this production decision to have this straight to tribal, but then you can strat chat as much as you want as tribal. It seems pointless. Like, I appreciate it's time saving, but they equally could have just sent them, instead of sending them back to camp, just send them over to another bit that's near where they're at, do a little bit of strat chat there. LRG do this all the time to save time. A couple of confessionals, boom, here we go. If you're going to do a straight tribal, it should just be a tribal.
Correct.
And so we got it. They got it anyway, but in a really probably unsatisfying way, given everything that was happening. And also right after touchy subjects. Touchy subjects is the time where people will come away, and it's still going to happen in the next episode, I'm sure, but people come away from it with the
hurt feelings.
And they didn't have time.
And you go back to camp and everyone wants to talk about how hurt they are. They can't believe that everyone voted them the GOAT or everyone voted them the least deserving. And you want to see the fallout. I mean, the fallout of touchy subjects is the whole point of it, right? It exposes all of the cracks and all of those deep, dark feelings that nobody actually openly talks about. And in this case, it actually gave us the chance to see the introverts who won't talk about, separating and splitting and voting with the extroverts. The extroverts have to go. All of a sudden, we have to see them turning on each other. I just thought it'd be so juicy, and I feel like we lost the impact of it a little bit.
Absolutely. And I think it was a really good touchy subject. I think the questions were good. They weren't terribly personally offensive in any real way. They were survivor related. I think some of them were probably a little bit easy, but I understand why they had it. Like, who's the most introverted introvert? Like, and everyone says Oscar. Like, that's not a bad start, but it's just a bit. There were some interesting ones. I thought it was interesting that Chris was seen as the biggest GOAT. On this podcast, we've been somewhat positive towards Chris's gameplay, that he's the secret, power man with Tilly. She's the face of the power and he's on the side. Max painting him as the face. Earlier this episode, Chris called himself the king. It wasn't in the most ORCA way. It wasn't Mac Daddy, I'm the king baby stuff. It was like, I'm kind of the king. But like, So he still had some humility about it because he's not an extrovert, but it's a real interesting outcome. And I like the way that he reacted to it. He said, that's good. I'm glad they think I'm a goat. I can fix this later, basically. But I was shocked. Was anyone else shocked by that one based on what we've seen? Josh, you're nodding furiously.
Yeah, I was shocked. Yeah, I would probably have said the biggest goat. If I was there, probably would have voted for like Oscar.
Oscar.
That's what I would have thought. Nothing wrong with Oscar.
I think there's nothing wrong with camouflaging your game and downplaying your threat level. I think that's a strategy you want to employ. You just need to be careful that you don't do it so well that you get all the way to the end and then you can't actually convince people that you were the strategist that you may have been in the game, that they're so convinced that you are this goat that nothing you really say at final tribal council can turn the tide. And I think Chris is probably playing very cleverly in that he is downplaying his threat level. And clearly what we're seeing in confessionals, he's able to check his ego and keep it under wraps when he's interacting with his other players. But it's a fine line between, getting to the end and being able to turn around and go, yeah, I know you all thought I was a goat, but I did all these amazing things. And the jury going, wow. Or the jury going, yeah, right. We were there. You're the goat. No votes. You know what I mean?
He might have trouble differentiating his game from some of his crew.
He probably needs to boot Tilly sooner or later so that she can spruik him on the jury if she doesn't have hard feelings. It's about the way that he would need to. She's seen everything.
He needs a big move that he can own that will then give credit and credence to all the other things he's done that people may not have actually given him credit for or seen.
Mac was shocked. Mac got a lot of things coming his way. Was anyone else sort of surprised by anything else from the touchy subjects and the answers? Mark, you've got your hand up.
Not an answer, but a big faux pas. Tim smashing Chris's egg as the first introvert. Tim went up first, picked the first person, went for Chris, and I was like, Jo is right there. She's been voted out the game. She's not close to anyone. I was like, that's a bit of a death knell, I thought, and that was before all the drama. So I thought that was
Plus, Tim had already voted for Jo. He already put votes on it.
There's already, you know what I mean? Like there was a safer play there.
Yeah.
Beck was getting some heat, which was good.
Yeah, that was good. Because, she has been flying under the radar. And even previously in the episode, she was mentioned as like a bit of an underrated threat. And I think somebody said, she's played 2 idols correctly. Mm-hmm. So I think she has been under the radar, but maybe now she's getting highlighted a bit more.
I'm pretty sure she got most deserving to win. That's not what you want to be getting at this point in the game.
That's a death knell. Let me assure you.
Didn't you get that one, Loz?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I remember in my mind going, oh God, I'm dead.
Because that's the consensus thought, is that you're the most deserving to win. That is the last thing you want to be the consensus thought at final 8. There are a lot of votes. The problem
for the introverts as well, though, is that they've all been hiding in their little introverted clan. And it's been okay while there's been a common enemy in the extroverts, but we're almost out of extroverts. And the people like Beck who are playing strong, strategic games, they're just not going to be able to hide. And I don't know what they thought they were going to do. This strategy to keep the introverts together is only going to make the threats within the introverts even bigger threats once Mac and Shane are gone. And I don't know what Beck's strategy is to counteract that. And I don't know what Tilly's strategy is going to be to counteract that. It's going to be tricky.
I'm sorry, Beck was the most underrated and biggest strategic threat. Who deserves to win the most then? I thought that was Beck. One person I still think that's being really undervalued and I think somewhat underutilized by the people in the game is Jo. Jo is somehow remaining a bit of an afterthought. Mac keeps talking about wanting to pick her up, keeping her in as an option. Everyone else seems to be taking her presence a little bit for granted. And I do feel no one seems to give any value to the battle back winner, the fact that they won the battle back. I think that was Joe was elite this episode. Yeah, but I don't think anyone was giving her credit for it. I feel like they're not giving her the respect that she deserves, and they're not looking to play with her, gather her up. I'm sure they will. I'm sure this is not going to remain the case. Do we think we're going into the final? She won that, but you didn't. There was a okay. There's something that wasn't there or something else going on. Do you think that we're in the final 8 now? Tyrone just got a lot of votes. A lot of votes. Can Tyrone make the final 5 with getting that many votes? You know, he's not eliminated, but once you start getting votes, I think Mark will tell you this, the votes just keep coming until they get you out. Can Tyrone make it to the final 5 for the people? What do we think?
Can
Josh?
Tyrone do a me and survive 9 episodes after getting votes? We'll find out. Self-glaze.
It'll be how Tyrone reacts to that tribal council, I think, will determine if he can make it to the final 5. Because that's that's super personal to get all those votes, and a whole bunch of people you thought were with you have turned on you for really no reason. And how you react to that when they go back to camp, to me, will determine if he goes back and throws the tantrum that you want to have, and I can't believe you'll turn on me and I'm all dead now and you're going to take me out next anyway. That'll probably be what happens. But
what's hard for him is that Tilly and Chris both voted for him on alternating
just
time.
threw him under the bus.
Who does he go to? Like,
I know. So you just got to go back and go, no hard feelings, guys. I totally get it. Still with you. We've got bigger fish to fry.
Tyrone has made a question, and I hope he's not trying to spoil anything, but I'm not going to say what he said in case you're just listening to this, but it might not be 5th place. I do place it on making the finale episode. I don't think many LRGs have ever done a top 6 in the finale, but we are at episode 9 already. Look, if it's a top 6 in the finale and you're in the finale, then you get the drinks. It's about making the last episode, not placement. So potentially, if that's the outcome. Josh.
Yeah, so I think after this, like Tyrone copying all those votes, because the first one of my notes was Tilly is getting her alliance solidified, and it's herself, Tyrone, and Oscar. And I think that is a winning scenario for Tilly if that's the final 3. So maybe after copying all these votes, Tyrone is just seen as a goat and, a dead man walking. And Tilly, does go to the end with him and beats him. I could see that happening.
But we've also got a scenario here with Tyrone. As you say, he should be reacting to these votes. He should be cool, calm, and collected, but he should be strategically pivoting. He should be making a group with Joe, Mac, Shane. That's 4. They've got to pull someone else in, which is Beck, I guess. And then they would have
Or use the vote block.
Yes, the vote block. All you need is 4 in the vote block. Shane could finally make an advantage work. Yeah, I like that. But you'd have to think Tyrone's a smart player. He's also likes to play big. He's played orgs. He's gone a long way in orgs. I don't think he just takes these votes laying down from the people he thought were his allies.
Yeah. Maybe.
Do we have any final bits for the episode?
I have some notes.
Okay, you got some notes, Josh? Loz might have to run, though. She has an important thing in the morning.
Loz, you go first, Loz.
My only thing is that I still cannot work out what the strategy of any particular introvert is. They're so chaotic. Every single vote involving them is just chaos, and they flip back and forth even when it should be a simple vote. And I can't see how any of them yet are planning their end game. I'm sure they have a plan for the end game. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But I'm not seeing it. I haven't heard any of them really communicate what they see their end game being and how they're going to get there, and then having and then voting in a way that matches that. And even at final 9, final 8, you're thinking about your end game. You should be, I think. And maybe we're just not seeing it in the edit, or maybe it's just still introverted chaos, which is what I said right before the whole game began. I thought it was going to be introverted chaos the whole time. So I hope that there is a plan. I hope somebody in there has a plan to get to the end, who they want to take, how they're going to do it. And I'm hoping we start to see it next episode. Because that's your end game. That, final 2, final 3, your jury speech needs to be, this is how I played, these were the decisions, this is why I brought these people with me. Not, well, I never kind of knew every vote what I was going to do, and then at the last second we changed our mind and we voted, and anyhow I ended up here. Which is how it feels at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Did you want to also change the episode title, Loz, or were you satisfied?
I had two options. One was Survivor Goats, because I really liked Eli's comment of a Survivor Goat, not Goat, the greatest of all time. So I thought Survivor Goats.
You want to give Eli another episode title? Oh, Mark.
I do. I actually thought that was a really, really good little quote that he didn't give himself credit for. And my second episode title was Shane's, and he said, and it was going to be Death, Taxes, and Immunity Idols.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That was good. That was good. I like that one.
Well, while we're giving credit to Eli, I actually quite liked his post-snuff thing about smashing eggs or cracking open them up. There was some sort of funny pun he did about it that wasn't like about strip poker like earlier. It was a bit of a he agrees with you, Loz. He's with you. That it should have been Shane. Death, taxes, and the IRS. got paid. But yeah, the thing.
All right, I'm going to go tonight now because I do have a very important work thing to do tomorrow. Very
go on
early.
a high. Thanks, Loz. Lovely to have you back. Awesome to see you.
Okay. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah. Do you have any? You got more notes, Josh? Before I throw up the Brommy on.
This was a huge one, and it even was captioned at the bottom. And I'm liking this season, but the audio and what people are saying is very difficult to listen to sometimes, and I have to do the YouTube captions, which are a bit messy. But this was an actual edited Eli caption, and Mac was at Tribal, and Mac was saying about, why is Oscar having his name thrown out? He's obviously trying to stir the pot. And then Mac was sitting in the middle, and Joe was on one side and Oscar was on the other. And then, Mac said, Oscar said, so Mac was like, blah, 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 talking. And then Oscar says, I really don't want Shane to go, or you, meaning Mac. And they're meant to have this beef. And Oscar said he didn't want Mac to go. But Mac was so, and love you, Mac, I know you're there, but you were ranting and doing the over dramatic thing, which we would totally do as well. But you over talked him, and that was a lifeline Oscar was giving to you. And you over talked, you didn't hear it. And that was like a lifeline that I feel like you just let go because you were too busy showboating a little bit there.
There's actually great bits as well where every time Oscar got a nasty result in the touchy subjects, Mac's like, why is everyone doing that to poor Oscar after Mac basically bullied Oscar at the last Tribal Council for not doing strategic?
I really want Mac and Oscar to kiss and make up. That would that'd be so great.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a storyline going there.
Anything else?
Just Tilly being, I think, ORCA of the episode.
You're jumping ahead. You can't shush.
No, but she was saying I think her having the immunity.
Brommy num, who gets the Brommy num?
If we're going to talk about who gets the ORCA of the episode, let me play the freaking video first.
Okay. Can I go first then? I'm already halfway
through.
Tilly, I think because she had the immunity necklace, maybe, she just had this confidence, and she was at Tribal saying it to Mac's face. Yeah, get that idol out, wear it, going off. And then about, if it's 50-50, flip it for us. I'm voting for you either way. She was going off, and I really respected it. I do think she misunderstood that you can just flush an idol without voting for the person. You just bluff them into playing it, because then she did end up voting for him. But I loved her boldness and her really speaking up. Yeah, I really respected that. So my vote definitely goes to Tilly for this episode.
Mark left, I think, because I put on the AI Brommy video and it gives him nightmares. So I think he just left. He can't take the amazingness of the video. I have to say that I think that's a good call. I probably wasn't thinking about Tilly, but I do really like this, Josh. And I want to add, she was a little bit cocky in the challenge as well. Like whenever she would get one right, there was a bit of celebration going on, a bit of over the topness, and a bit of like, don't you fucking dare squish my eggs. I think the power is going a bit to her head. I do think she's the top dog in this game, and it's bringing out the ORCA. So second Brommy nom, if we give her one. Other options, I did consider Chris, simply because he referred to himself as the king, which I thought was probably a big call for Chris. So I think he wanders around calling himself the king. He's more humble than that. So I enjoyed that. But and Mac, of course, continues to deliver the ORCA energy, but we can't just give it to Mac every week. So, I'm with you. I think we will give Tilly her second Brommy. She got it in the second episode, and now in the second episode of the merge. Well done, Tilly. I don't know. I guess Mark's not coming back. He really hates my Brommy nom. If he actually said that, Mac, I would have given him the ORCA thing. Well, that'd be amazing if he'd overheard you, and then stole your catchphrase. Ring a ding ding, Chris is the king. No, Tilly's the king for this episode. Thank you, Josh. It was great to have the whole ORCA crew here this evening covering this season. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Loz. Thank you to Tim for coming on and telling his story. And, obviously very affected by what happened to him, but very respectful, I think, in the way he presented what is still a sore point to him. I think also thank you to everyone who was here live for the comments. It was great to have Danny and Eli and Tyrone all in the chat giving their perspectives of what is obviously a controversial decision. It was great to get the input of all these people that were there in the real time to, for us to be able to detective out whether this is, a hugely problematic decision or, somewhat fair. Thank you to Isabel and her wonderful relationship with Tim to get Tim on the show. Tim was not keen. I get it. But I think everyone, ourselves, but also many of the cast and crew are glad that Tim was able to come on and say his piece. For what it's worth, that's his view, that's his truth, and he was able to speak to it. And I think he did it reasonably or quite respectfully, to be honest, which I think was really, really good. We will be back. The Canberra Survivor has ended. I won't spoil it for everyone's watching, but a winner has been crowned, and our coverage of Canberra continues this Wednesday, probably. I think this Wednesday. And then we will continue on with interviews for Canberra the week after. Then, Josh, you will get to host your first tea party. And then the most incredible moment for someone from the Canberra forecast will get to join the Congress of the ORCAs. It will be an incredible moment for them, probably the greatest moment of their lives. And of course, that is upcoming in our Sydney coverage. Anyone in due course when we get to the end of the season, anyone that is in Melbourne, who lives in Melbourne, or just wants to take a little trip to Melbourne around the 1st of August, look up our Facebook page for the event details of the live Uncharted Waters reunion / live ORCA show. Bromelo medals will be handed out. I will talk a lot. Do you know who's getting a Bromelo medal at this event? Josh, do you know who?
You?
Yes.
Why are you getting it?
Because I'm the Brommy from Playing with Fire.
Oh, that was years ago. I thought we're past that.
Dude, I handed out your Brommy at the random thing in Perth last year.
And I was on crutches. I committed to that. I was disabled.
Yeah. Danny's going to get hers too as well. Let's see if we can get James Wolfe to come. If you're friends with James Wolfe, see if we can get him up from Geelong. claim his.
I think you need to give Greg a special one as well.
It will say almost ORCA. Thank you, everyone that was here live. We'll be back with our Sydney coverage next Monday. Until then, for all the ORCAs and for Josh, we shall dance. We forgot to do the winner predictions. Sorry, bros. We'll get to you next week. Too hard. Double food.